Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashioned Conservatives podcast. I'm Justin Phillips, and with me is a conservative who doesn't understand the idiosyncrasies of the queer community, Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest.
And we'll get to that a little bit later on, but tonight we're covering the latest on the Hannah Dugan saga that should be coming to a close. Senate Dem leader saying the quiet thing out loud. But first, we have to wrap up our discussion from the Dem convention and talk first about how wrong I was on the straw poll and Franny Hong, who on Monday of this week, her post from the Dem convention where she was live reacting and overacting and celebrating the Knicks victory went viral for all the wrong reasons. So Shadow Gov, do you see that clip and see how she got ratioed?
Well, I do appreciate the bipartisan, there were people on both sides of the aisle here than being like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. Why is a Wisconsin politician being so performative about the Knicks? Like, hey, the Knicks have had it rough for a while. They haven't been this far in a while. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. You won it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to record myself at a watch party for the Knicks. Like, it wasn't just like hey, I'm at a bar. I'd like to watch the last game of the series and kind of have a fun time, a couple drinks, and then, oh, that's cool. Congratulations, and move on. It was like she was at a watch party for the Knicks and was, she's sitting down. She's, looking like, you could have thought she was watching the Bucks. And, it's not that I'm going to lose sleep over her cheering for the Knicks, but it's like, what, are you just trying to pander for Mom Donnie supporters?
100%.
What are we doing? This is just kind of bizarre.
But yeah, she is acting. It's just the overacting, the theater kid level dramatics about celebrating the Knicks. Now, even if she was a Wisconsin transplant who grew up a Knicks fan, this could be justified. But celebrating it like you're Franny from Queens running for, city council is just laughable that she would do that.
Ride or die, maybe. Yeah. But let's rein in the performative politics.
Yeah.
Which she's been pretty good at, but this is a very cringy moment.
And that thing got 4.5 million views on X. And quite frankly, I think that was her Dean Scream moment that you could do a couple of image captures from there, and that's curtains for any TV or direct mail piece that you want to attack her with.
The problem being, the Dean Scream was seen by normal people on TV, where Francesca's little performative politics was seen on Twitter to a very niche audience that did go viral, but it went viral in politics. Social media, but also NBA social media. Yeah. So it was a very weird coalition of people being like, what is a Wisconsin politician doing about the Knicks? I don't want to hear any of this. I don't want to hear any of this nonsense about when Eric Hovde picked against the Badgers in the NCAA tournament. He was just calling game. He's just seeing game for game. Meanwhile, Francesca is doing this kind of. I don't think she's ever talked about the Knicks before.
Never. I looked at it.
I'm aware of. Yeah. So this is just for someone that's really good at social media, getting the clicks, being viral, being hip and trendy. This just kind of missed the mark. But hey, you're gonna have a few clunkers every once in a while. So
yeah, that level of pander was quite embarrassing, but not quite as embarrassing as Mandela Barnes' 6th place finish in the Dem convention straw poll. Now, we predict those going in, and yeah, I was 100% wrong on Missy Hughes. I thought she'd resonate more with maybe the normies, but apparently there are no normies at the Dem convention, and she finished a deep last place. But just above her was Mandela Barnes, and I think we look back a week and we said that Mandela Barnes needed to finish top 3. And this is an out and out rejection by the party insiders and establishment Dems.
Yeah, this was shocking. Obviously, when we came into, we gave our predictions. I'm pretty sure I had Mandela in 3rd. I believe I said I had Hong second, Hong first, Sarah second, Mandela third, Kelda fourth, Crowley fifth, Missy sixth, Joel seventh. And it actually ended up being Sarah first, Fran second, Kelda third.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but then much later down the list, Mandela Barnes at 6, and obviously Missy Hughes bringing out the rear dead last with only 10 votes.
Yeah,
out of some 300 plus people.
Yeah.
So that was pretty rough. That was Justin was wrong, and I believe I warned you. I warned you.
I think I even said I knew I was going to be wrong, but I still was going to pick it.
Okay, that's fine. You went down with the ship. Captain goes down with the ship. So I could appreciate that. But Mandela, I mean, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I can't recall if I've talked about it on here or I've just talked about it with other people in private. How I don't know what I'm going to do in August as far as the primary. I haven't made up my mind yet, but if I were to vote in the Democrat primary, if I were hypothetical, I would vote for either Francesca Hong or Mandela Barnes. And everyone's like, there's an argument to be made that Francesca Hong has the worst record. She's more radical than Mandela, even on paper, I would say. But she's more energetic. She gets a lot of that weird coalition of voters that probably she could get some Trump voters, and that can be kind of scary, especially in a weird midterm. She could get some of those voters potentially, but is her ridiculous stance is going to be basically fail her. Or we have Mandela Barnes, who on paper believes the same things that Francesca does, has a ton of baggage. We could use that book again, that Oppo book against him again. We could sink him again with all the same stories from 2022 and then some. And he depresses the base, I think.
Yeah.
Clearly the grassroots think he's boring. He's old news. The Woody meme, where Andy drops Wood. I don't want to play with you anymore. Like that's they don't want anything to do with Mandela.
That was Mandela Barnes after the 22 election, and I think he didn't get the support of that Black inner city organizing group that he went and did doors with. I think that was like that first sign that he might actually not bring home some of the minority voters. The Milwaukee Courier said Mandela don't run again. Reed Epstein over at the Wall Street Journal the New York Times had this long form piece on how he shouldn't be running again. He pulled all these Democratic insiders that, of course, didn't want to put their name to it. And now you see it with the Democrat insiders at the convention. So, no, I have kind of that same question about, if Francesca loses the primary to someone like Mandela Barnes, do a lot of her people, her like ride or die lefties stay home or vote green or write in someone? Like, how momentum does the Democrat Party lose in that race if it's not Francesca?
Well, I sure know that the DSA isn't going to just start knocking doors for Mandela.
Right. And it's probably just as worse if it's Sarah Russell Rodriguez. Like, correct. DSA is, and she, has the momentum now, at least for a couple days. She really seemed to claim the momentum as the not Francesca Hong candidate that's viable, that can run, that can win. And like, she seems to be the one that the media, bloggers, substackers seem to be coalescing around or trying to elevate because of look, she has momentum now and we're going to kind of, bandwagon that. Yeah. But
I don't think it's completely coalesced around her. But
no, it hasn't. It hasn't. But
yes, obviously her doing, the poll that showed her in third place, that poll tested decently, or, obviously winning the straw poll helps out a lot. But as we stated, 2018, Kelda Roys did the same thing. Look what happened to her. So the straw poll, obviously, take it with a grain of salt. However, yes, the big argument that I am having, and that I don't know yet, I want to hear from everyone listening. Who do they think? Who do they think is the worst, or how I should say this? Which candidate would you vote for because you thought that they would be easier to beat?
Yeah, that's
Francesca
a good question.
Hong because she has a worse record, or Mandela Barnes because he's not as inspiring? Some people say, okay, Francesca Hong's got these radical views. Is she going to get donors?
Right.
I don't think the Democrat Party has ever run out of money. So, I don't think money would be an issue.
Yeah, but this cycle, the GOP is ahead, at least the NRCC, especially with small dollars, and they don't have the debts that the Dem side does. So, now that Act 10 seems to be being exposed, now that Act Blue seems to be being exposed for this money laundering operation for the Democrats, that money seems to be drying up a little for the Dems. Now, she could get the Zoran Mamdani money and those they could fly a bunch of door knockers from, Red Hook and the Bronx up to Dane County and pull out every voter in the county. But, you still have to compete at the TV level and all that. And, maybe Francesca Hong can't pull that money down the same way that, a Sarah Rodriguez could, because she's the moderate, palatable, anti-Hong.
I just, going into the straw poll, I thought Francesca was going to be the easiest to beat. And I still believe that, but Mandela's just sheer ability to be uninspiring. I just have struggled to believe that, the Democrats don't need an inspiring candidate to win, but it sure helps. And I don't like playing with fire, like the Bernie bro, I think a Trump versus Bernie 2016 election would have been fascinating.
Yes.
And maybe Bernie wins that.
It's possible, but you certainly have to wonder how many people who voted for Bernie in the Dem primary crossed over to Trump or stayed home.
Yeah.
And I think you have a very similar scenario here where if it's not Hong, how many of her DSA, those top tier DSA volunteers go over to Mandela or Sarah, or God forbid Kelda. It's not 100%.
Yeah. So it's the math is very minute at this point, whether you believe that Mandela depresses the base enough that he would make it. But I think Mandela's got probably enough normie voters that have seen him before and that would vote for him again. Or do we want to play with fire with Francesca? And because if she were to get elected somehow, devastating, I don't care if we have the Assembly and the Senate, having Francesca in the governor's seat would be crushing because of what she still could do as the executive of the state of Wisconsin. But needless to say, that sixth place straw poll position has made me rethink my vote for August.
All right. Well, with that, when the pod drops on Monday, we'll have something drop right away that is about who do you think is the weakest candidate that you would vote for in the primary election. But now let's take a couple minutes and not talk about the governor's race on the Dem side. We have to talk a little bit about Hannah Dugan, Shadow Gov's favorite judge, who, if you recall, in April of 2025, allowed a illegal immigrant to be stopped from being deported as she let him go through a side door in her courtroom and keep ICE agents away from him and, evade arrest. And she disrupted an ICE proceeding. So she resigned from the bench in in January after being found guilty. We went live in December, I think, just shocked that she was found guilty of any crimes, let alone the felony of obstructing a federal proceeding. So the other thing that came up recently was Lynn Edelman, who is a far left progressive judge, halted originally, I think, the sentencing, and he was going to hear some arguments and some motions of acquittal or request for a new trial. And he said, no, to those. He denied them. I think that we were surprised there. So 2 surprises. 1, she was charged. I guess 3. 1, she was charged. 2, she was found guilty. 3, that Lynn Edelman is allowing it to move forward. And now she will face charges for this. And she will be sentenced in July 8th. So coming up in a couple of weeks.
Well, I never thought I'd see the day that the court ruled in our favor. Now it does happen. I like to rail against the courts, of course, than judges, but I guess that a clock does. A broken clock is right 2 times a day. Mm-hmm. So yes, surprised that Lynn Edelman didn't give her an out, a get out of jail free card. However, Judge Dugan is not going to see the inside of a jail. Like, let's get that correct. She's never been charged or convicted of anything before. Regardless of what, yes, she was charged with a serious crime, but it's not going to result in any jail time. She'll probably get probation, I'm assuming.
Probation. She already resigned, so it's not like I don't even think she'll get a fine. Maybe a small fine. So I'm looking at the federal guidelines for obstruction conviction suggest 15 to 21 months in prison, though first-time nonviolent offenders receive probation. So she'll probably get probation. She faces a maximum of 5 years prison and $350,000 in fines. Now, even if she gets a day in prison and over 10% of that suggested fine as her charge, as the ruling, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I would be absolutely shocked. And it's not going to happen. It's just you can take it to the bank, take it to Poly Market. Whatever you want to do, it's not going to happen. But I'm going to take this as a W. This whole saga has been a W in general. The fact that, first of all, we caught somebody aiding and abetting an illegal foreign alien and caught them. The federal government charged them, convicted them, and now we're going to get it's actually happening. People were like, oh, let's prosecute the judges for doing things that are wrong. Well, Judge Dugan did something wrong and she was convicted by 100%. A jury of her peers. So it is still kind of crazy, though, that it seems like the fever dream that we were living in just, a year ago, where obviously illegal immigration still is, happening. The crackdown, the defend the homeland, that's still happening. But it's maybe just not as prominent as it once was. And Judge Dugan's love for illegals more than you just clouded her judgment, and I guess happy probation. She can't be a judge anymore, I suppose.
Right. He didn't vacate the felony, which means she can't be a judge anymore. She's already resigned. She's 67, so she could theoretically just retire and kind of ride off into the sunset. But or maybe hope that a future Democrat administration will pardon her or expunge the crimes. But until then, she again, it's not that just that it happened, but it happened in a progressive liberal Milwaukee County with a ancient liberal judge who's actually seems to be doing the right thing. So at this point, I think any fine, any probation is something, and we'll see what happens on July 8th. And I'm sure we'll be discussing the reaction then. But now I think it's a great time. We should talk a little bit about energy. And since AFP is hosting former Miss America, Miss Wisconsin, and nuclear physicist Grace Vanderhei with Julian Bradley and Paul Scheckelman this week at Smoke on the Water in Okauchee. And Megan Novak of AFP's, she's their state director, wrote 2 energy pieces for the Heartland Post this week. We got to talk a little bit about energy right now. And the one thing I want to talk about first is Senate Democrat leader Dianne Hesselbein saying the quiet part out loud. So she was at an event, WisPolitics luncheon this week, where she said to all of the attendees there that her number one regret for the legislative session was failing to pass the right of first refusal legislation, or ROFR. Now, to kind of explain what that does, it allowed incumbent utilities to the automatic right to build any new transmission infrastructure in their territory with no competitive bidding process. No competition meant no incentives to keep costs down. And AFP's whole thing is that you could read Megan's piece on the Heartland Post about it, but what not strikes me necessarily about the support for the right of first refusal, but that she said that out loud in front of a lot of lobbyists.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of bills. There's like over 1,000 bills that get put forward in a legislative session, probably even more than that. And there's a lot of, I mean, maybe she wanted to pass one of her own bills. You know, I'm sure she had legislation, right? Wouldn't it be like, hey, you know, that pet project of mine, I really wish I could have gotten that signed into law. I really wish. Or what about some bipartisan stuff that just didn't get over the finish line? Or maybe there was a bill that you voted for that got vetoed. Well, I really wish we could get that. It's not a super great look when the one bill that you wanted to pass was the one that probably has the most lobbying done in the entire legislative session. Now, that doesn't, okay, now, full disclosure, just because a bill is lobbied on heavily does not mean it's inherently a bad thing.
Right.
But it is not a good look for a politician to be like, yes, I wish we could have passed this bill that had a bunch of lobbying behind it already. So, yeah, not a super great look, but I mean, Dianne Hesselbein is also somewhat new to the position of minority leader, although she does a pretty decent job. I'll give her that.
No, I was going to give her the credit of this being like S-tier hackery from her. You know, she didn't go in there. I know, you know, WisPolitics luncheon, traditionally attended by, you know, insiders, big wigs, lobbyists, all those sorts, you know, the movers and shakers inside the Capitol. So she went there and told them about Roford. She didn't tell them about the kitchen table issues that the Democrats are running on. She didn't talk about how we should have funded schools fully or any one of her talking points. You know, nothing about, you know, protecting trans kids, nothing about, you know, pick your left wing issue. And she said, we didn't pass right of first refusal. It's just, like I said, S-tier hackery. It reminds me of, do you ever seen the movie, was it The Campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis is running as competing members of, you know, for Congress. And there's this one scene where Will Ferrell, it's just these jump cut kind of, you know, montage thing of him going around saying, you know, policemen are our nation's backbone. But it gets to, and he kind of works for all of these positions, plumbers and tradesmen are our nation's backbone. And then he gets to tilt-a-whirl, you know, tilt-a-whirl carnival operators are our nation's backbone. That just streams what Dianne Hesselbein has did. Like, if that was a completely different audience, if that was WEAC, like, S-tier hacks, like, we didn't fully fund schools. If she goes to Planned Parenthood, well, we didn't codify abortion rights. So just the shamelessness is more surprising or more noticeable than necessarily the content of the right of first refusal bill. But
100%.
You know, also Megan Novak, again, doing some great writing at the Heartland Post, talked about a little bit about this week on how the media and the Journal Sentinel basically asked for the talking points for every candidate's energy policy and asked no follow-up questions or ask any hard questions about what they're going to do. So, you know, with the cost of living as the number one concern for families in Wisconsin, the Democrats are coming out and saying that they, you know, they want to support the closure of coal plants. They want a Green New Deal for Wisconsin. They want to, you know, increase energy costs for all these pet projects, but again, no effort by the Journal Sentinel to do anything other than, you know, be the dutiful stenographers they are for the Dems, and in this case, on their energy policies.
Well, and one thing, people don't realize that we're still paying for the closure of the coal power plants. We pay for that. And so I don't want to, like, I know that the Green New Deal is kind of like a far off thing, and people don't really think that, oh, that stuff comes into play in Wisconsin, but it 100% does. Energy policy, I think, is one of those areas that it's like, it seems daunting and extreme. It is complicated. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't, but it's one of those things where, you know, even if you just take it just a few minutes to really dive into it, it becomes such a more manageable topic. Because most people just kind of write it off like, yes, just drill, baby, drill, which, trust me,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that is 100%. Yes, drill, baby, drill, frack, natural gas, all that jazz. But yeah, there's a lot of good things you can learn about, and some of the deceptive things that the Democrats are trying to do to try to make it more expensive for us to kind of get our energy the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I mean, I could go through some of these talking points real quick. And again, what you see from Jesse Apoyan, who is, again, just a hack, just an absolute shill for the Democratic Party. You see that former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, well, he's going to freeze rates at the PSC, which is, I mean, the most she does is linked to an article about the legal questionability of those. Missy Hughes talked about how she wanted to follow Governor Evers' goal of reaching 100% carbon-free electricity by 2050 with wind, solar, and hydroelectric, as opposed to, again, no mention of smashing atoms to get to that point. Hong wants to allow local governments to create their own public utilities.
That seems insane.
Yeah. Sarah Rodriguez, like you look through these again, it's mostly a lot of campaign talking points, but wants to make sure corporations pay their own energy costs instead of sticking it to Wisconsin residents with the bill, and invest in cheaper, cleaner energy sources to bring bills down. Again,
that's just like basically, like you said, talking point, print. Mm-hmm. Okay, what does that mean? Yes, it's the Mandela. Oh, I'm going to freeze utility rates. Well, actually, you can't just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one follow-up question that would reveal, hey, is it true that you can't actually do that? Mm-hmm. Instead, it's just like, whatever crazy idea the Democrats have, which they don't have to defend in actuality. They just have to articulate a position. They don't have to back it up with anything other than a talking point. That's all that they need. But whatever, that's insane.
Yeah, I know it was just such a crappy article, and it should have. The one question is, how would you do that? What does that look like? What is different? What bills are you going to do? Any simple question about that, Jesse could do the most basic, competent level of journoing, and she didn't. And again, she did that a couple times this week. We called it out on our on the New Fashion Pod X account. We were there talking, but she had another one where she basically reprinted Drake Bentley's article. It was like one of the meme of like, you can copy my homework, just change it a little. Or, the Office meme of what's her, holding up the two pictures for Creed Bratton to look at and say, corporate needs to find the difference between two of those pictures. They're the same
thing.
Yeah. And that was the same thing. There's no daylight difference between Jesse Apoyan and Drake Bentley.
Can't agree anymore.
Yeah. So with that, Shadow Gov, you wrote a real fun. This will lead into, I think, our candy segment. You wrote a fun piece for the Heartland Post this week. What really stood out. You must have seen the tweet the same time as me that Greta Neubauer said she was proud to be part of the LGBT plus community and be an advocate for our quote unquote our rights in the state capitol. While some politicians work to divide us, I will continue fighting for a Wisconsin where we are all safe and welcome. Happy Pride. Now, she does that on July 18th. Now, I don't know if you noticed Pride this year, but it seemed like every company, every corporation, every MLB team, NHL, NBA, NFL team set their Pride tweet or Instagram post to 12:01 a.m. on June 1st and was like, that's all we're doing. We did the one thing, baseball is for all of us.
You check the box. You check the
box.
Box.
They checked that one box. They did it immediately, and then they could brush it aside because maybe, other than like the baseball teams having a Pride night and some did it. And I don't know if you saw there's a minor league team or an independent league team in York, Pennsylvania, that the players didn't want to wear the Pride uniforms. So they actually had to forfeit the game. Funny enough, for, San Francisco Giants players writing, Genesis on the quote of, from God creating the rainbow as a covenant with Noah to never flood the land again, writing that Bible verse.
Patriot. Absolute patriot.
Yeah. So Greta comes in, drops this 18 days into Pride that she reminds everyone that she kissed a girl and liked it because, I'll let you talk from here about her identity or alleged identity and Kelda's alleged identity and let you sound off.
Well, I understand this is a touchy subject for the liberals, but this is honest. I am coming at this from somewhat of an honest perspective. It's kind of funny, but like I have questions, honest questions. As someone that I am not in the LGBT community there, and I don't know the intricacies of how you guys operate or what can be said and what can't be said. But essentially, Greta, she posted this thing saying that she was a part of the LGBTQ community. Now, back in 2020, she put an op-ed out writing that she was queer and that she had dated more men than women, and that she sometimes wondered if she was even queer enough to be considered queer. I'm assuming that's what she meant. And she's frankly, I don't care what she says she is, but at what point can she say queer while she lives a traditional life? Now, many of you probably don't know, but she was married a couple of years ago, and she just like 2 weeks ago gave birth to her first child. So congratulations. Congratulations. You're living the American dream, starting a family. That's great. But at what point can you stop saying that you're queer? Like, hey, you experimented in college or whatever, and it was like a one-time thing, and then you dated guys for the rest of your life, and then now you're married and have a child. Can you really claim that you're still, what, can you be 70 years old? Well, I've been straight my entire life, but that one time, I think I'm a part of the community right now, not an ally, I think I understand what an ally is, which is I'm straight, but I haven't engaged in any of that activity. Therefore I'm an ally. No, I think it's been long enough. I don't think you're part of the community, but what do I know? So if there's a liberal out there listening, please help me help me understand. At what point is it no longer? Could she do this forever? Because that seems kind of, I don't know, rude.
Do you still get to claim it if you've been with your husband? Like, happy 20-year anniversary to my life partner or something? Like, when you hit that point and you haven't, kissed a girl or whatever, like, do you still get to be a part of it? I truly, I'm the same point as you. I don't know. And I think the funny thing is you see this with like any sort of liberal profession. You see it in the arts. You see it, especially, with Hollywood actors, that they feel after so much time they need to come out and live their true authentic self. And 90% of the time that's girls saying that they're bisexual, or again, this quote unquote, this catch-all term of queer. And, you see it. And I think sometimes it's a way to stay in the press. Truly, I think it's something to generate interest for a project they're working on, or a book or a podcast, whatever it is. I think a lot of that from Hollywood's, that type of mentality where they can't be seen as a, straight white woman. They have to have some sort of, alternate identity to glom onto to show that they're part of something that isn't just what is considered, the norm for a large majority of Americans.
Well, I think that's the key point you hit on just now, is that there is and this is, conservatives are part of group, they have church, they have religion, they have other small groups that kind of appeal to a higher sense of self-worth, sacrifice, sense of community. That's kind of innate in conservative land, I would say. The leftist liberals, I don't think it's as, their NGOs, their issue groups, that's kind of their community. They don't have the same, like, religion isn't really a thing on the left. It is, but it's usually vapid or shallow, or 1,000 feet wide and an inch deep type of thing.
With lesbian priests.
Yeah, lesbian priests or queer priests. And sidetrack, queer is 100% a catch-all, which is why I think this is even more skeptical, is that, again, maybe I'm just a bigot here, but like, I'm pretty sure queer is just like I don't really know, but I know I'm not normal, therefore I'm queer. So like it's a catch-all.
Yeah.
But 100% believe that this is something that people do, whether you're a politician or not. I think it just conveniently helps her that she's a politician. But essentially she's trying to find, some extra purpose. Well, I'm going to be part of this disadvantaged community, and I can loosely claim it, and I truly believe it. But whatever happened to the principled gays? We're the principled gays here to tell her, hey, I'm actually gay. Okay, so like, what are you doing? Hey, you can't be taking the credit. It seems kind of like stolen valor for gays. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's stolen valor for gays. You have not gone through what we went through. Not we as in me. I am not gay. So
yeah, she hasn't gone what Kelda has to go through and flee to Iowa to get married to her spouse because it wasn't allowed in Wisconsin except she got married to a dude.
I still would love if someone re-up that story to ask her like, hey, I know it's not really relevant, but she is running for office again.
Hey, it is Pride Month.
It is Pride Month. We could always resurrect that story. I wish someone was a tracker and would just track her and say like, Kelda, did you flee to Iowa to marry your partner? But for those of listening, we've talked about this before, but Kelda pretended to be gay back in 2011. But feel free to read the article. I talk about that as well. But to put a bow on it, just kind of stupid. And where are the principal gays at? Who should be calling her out and being like, hey, what are you doing? Stolen valor for gay people.
And if you want to read what Shadow Governor wrote for the Heartland Post, it's the Forever Queer card. You can catch that on the website. Now, I love this portion of the candy where we have another little Justin segment where Justin tells a story. And I saw this post on X from a woman named Aisha Griffin. And if you weren't in Wisconsin politics before 2010, 2012, you probably don't recognize the name. So she posts on her X account that she is going to be a write-in candidate for governor of Wisconsin. Now, she did it with some really some Kanye West level Christ-like imagery of Aisha Griffin on a cross. Really interesting stuff. So you can find it at IESHUHG. That is her X account. But why am I talking about this woman? Well, for those of you who may have not known or may have forgotten, she ran for state assembly as an independent candidate in 2010. And I'm going to say some words now that I know sometimes we blur out our swear words, and might have to give you that warning that if you're listening with someone else in the car that maybe shouldn't be hearing some words, I'm going to say them, but I need him to be uncensored because it is part of her campaign platform. So in 2010, Aisha Griffin ran for state assembly as an independent. Now, and if you're in Wisconsin, you can run as an independent and have a little like 4 or 5 letter word statement of your campaign. And hers was not the white man's bitch. And she argued for this to be on the ballot for her. And she went to the Government Accountability Board, the version of WEC, and had to go in front of them. And she actually had, and I've heard this before, I heard her explain it several times. And she went on this exact explanation of what it means. And that, a bitch is a dog that's meant for breeding. And I am not going to be doing that for the white man. And she is like this perfect, like, storm of hyper progressive crack pottery and woke right on her stuff. So she went on this and she ended up getting some coverage on The Daily Show back actually when I think it was John Oliver did the piece for her. Now it's been lost to the archives of the internet. I have not been able to find it, but it was perfect. And John Oliver took not the white man's bitch as a possible campaign slogan to a marketing team. And they're like, wouldn't do that. And then she had her backup one. And I think this was probably better, was new booty. And I think that would have fit better on yard signs, Since then, of course, since that 2010 election, so she lost that one to Elizabeth Coggs, like 9-1. She got 10% of the vote. She has since run for Assembly District 10 in Milwaukee, which at the time was Sandy Pash. I think she ran in 2011 for Milwaukee County Executive. And that's where I heard it, because I was working for Jeff Stone, who was at the time running for Milwaukee County Executive. And she was in that race. And of course, still everyone was asking her. And I mean, we were at Marquette Law School with Mike Goucher. And Mike's like, can you explain what "not the white man's bitch" means? And, hearing a newscaster say those kind of the words was really something. So she, explained, and that's what I think I heard that explanation from her. She has since again ran for Milwaukee mayor in 2022, where she finished near the bottom of the ballot. She tried to mount a write-in campaign for municipal court, I think. She ran against Jonathan Brostoff for Milwaukee County Common Council in District 3. She ran for mayor in 24, where she then, ran in the general and then tried to mount a write-in campaign. She ran for Milwaukee County Executive in 2024, Common Council a couple more times. Like, she's just really tried to get a hold of things. And what I am disappointed in is every time she does it, she tries to do it as a write-in candidate. She doesn't actually try to, run for, under the "not the white man's bitch" party.
Maybe we should make it harder to get on the ballot.
Harder to be a write-in for sure, because I think her video post, besides the fact that it is her literally posed as Christ on the cross, shows a picture of her. I assume it's filing this with WEC. So WEC might have to decide if "not the white man's bitch" is the proper association you can run in as an independent candidate. But she posted it out there that she's doing it again. So. And she's filing that certified write-in candidate. So maybe that needs to be a bit harder.
Well, maybe she'll siphon away votes from Francesca Hong, with that crazy. I mean, yeah, she's clearly left-wing with some I shouldn't say it's clearly left-wing. She's just an insane person. But
yes.
Thank you for that little bit of history, elite ball knowledge.
Yeah, that one, I wanted to write about it in the Heartland Post, but maybe not putting those words in the paper or on the website was the right call. But it's something I did write about this week that I didn't realize was going to trigger me as much as it did when I started writing it. So Tony Evers was asked by, the America 250 team, the Trump's team, to put together something for the America 250 time capsule that's going to be sealed this month in Maryland and scheduled for burial on July 4th in Philadelphia, to be opened in 2276. So Evers, what did he contribute to this? So he did one cool thing, which is a Civil War era bald eagle feather, and then a Harley Owners Group coin. But then the real focus he had was a bunch of tchotchkes, as Dan O'Donnell said it, because I wrote it, that are better as door prizes at a casino than they are meant to be for a time capsule. So it included a keychain bearing the seal of the Forest County Potawatomi community, pins for the Great Lakes Interior Tribal Council, a Waswanganon Jishamangashag patch, which those are words, and a set of cards representing the state's indigenous people. So it is essentially a woke land acknowledgement in a can from Wisconsin. So there's nothing about the actual legacy of Wisconsin. There's nothing for fishing, no supper club culture, no beer. A friend of ours said that we should put the last brewed can of Schlitz into that. But this isn't, again, performative indigenous nonsense that's going to be sealed in a time capsule with stuff from all the other 49 states to be opened in 200 years. And it's just such a disappointment and embarrassing that the governor would go this route. And I still think the Trump administration and, that America 250 team should reject what he says and just do their own thing. because it's that bad. It's that trash.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
No,
didn't mean
go
to
ahead.
cut you off there.
No,
The biggest thing that I thought was like, Democrats are all about bureaucracies and trusting the bureaucracies, but it's like, why do you not give this to the tourism? Why do you not give this to the Department of Tourism, which, as you say in the article, is probably the most competent of the agencies, or at least agency heads. And I know people are going to be like, "Oh, why are you guys getting worked up about a tin can, a town council that you won't even be around to see?" Well, I'd like our ancestors to not think we were lame.
Yeah.
First of all, but and you listed off a good, healthy chunk of just some other stuff that we could do. A Kwik Trip rewards card. I think that's great. Or just some, Door County cherries. My personal favorite, a Culver's Scoopy token.
Yes.
It might get dissolved. You might have to frame it or, preserve it somehow. There's just a million other tchotchke but significant things that aren't just like kind of cheap plastic, whatever. A Packers sharehold certificate. Fantastic. If there's a leftover piece of County Stadium, I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Or like you had mentioned, a square of turf from the home opener at Miller Park in 2001.
Yep.
That would be just spitballing off the top of the head type of things,
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I actually buried some of the lead on this one because I got so worked up about what the governor actually put in it. You're right. The first hang up with this should be the fact that the governor picked a paper pushing deputy secretary at the Department of Veterans Affairs to head this operation. Again, not someone from the Department of Tourism, which knows a thing or two about selling the state of Wisconsin and is arguably run by the most competent agency head. It's not done by Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, which has an entire marketing team for the state. It's just one single doofus mid-tier bureaucrat from Veterans Affairs picking up some like I said, some woke tchotchkes. The one thing I would add into it is, so Hook's Cheddar, if they can make a 25-year aged cheddar, a 20-year aged cheddar, I feel like I'm going to trust them to make a 200-year aged cheddar, and that would survive. You mentioned Scooby tokens. You know what I thought of? So you ever played the game Fallout? Bottle caps are the mode of the thing of currency. And, maybe in 200 years, we're going to have a Fallout-like situation. And for, the upper Midwest region, Scoop tokens are going to be the currency of choice for the future.
I mean, I'm here for it, but needless to say, I think we could have done a little bit better just with an ounce of more consideration. And I doubt that we're going to get anything different, unfortunately, but I guess we'll see.
But there's one thing from Kwik Trip that maybe should go in there too, because maybe it could stand the test. And Shadow Gov, do you have yours ready?
I do have mine ready, in fact.
All right. So for folks who don't know, the Quickery Bake Shop, part of Kwik Trip, has released a limited edition Mountain Dew Dunker. Now, I will tell you that the traditional Dunkers are better than Glazers. You give me the cherry Dunker, blueberry Dunker, better than a Glazer. But here in my hands is Ecto Cooler Green Mountain Dew Dunker. So Shadow Gov, you want to take it? We're gonna eat these on air and react in real time. I have not had one of these before.
Well, and I didn't even know that it was a thing. I just, I was going to the bathroom at Kwik Trip. I come out and I see this giant stack of green boxes. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, what? No way. So I was like, okay, well, I feel like I have to get it now just because, just to try it. I put it on Twitter and I was like, guys, should we do this?
Yes, Kwik Trip calls it a refreshing citrusy treat that fuels you to live life to the fullest. And it's 330 calories. 44%, 44% of your daily added, of your sugars for the day. It contains a bioengineered food ingredient, just so you know. And I'm sure that's what makes it this greenish color. So Shadow Gov, let's
just gonna have the one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna have half.
I'm gonna try not to do too much ASMR.
Yes, the chewing. Everyone can enjoy a little ASMR of us chewing. And Wow, that is like just biting into a lime, just a dry, sugary lime.
Yeah, I'm not really much of a Mountain Dew American, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a Dr. Pepper American.
Yeah, me too.
So, but I thought it was kind of a weird thing, and it's limited time. So I was like, yeah, okay, we'll give it a shot. Is it the worst thing I've had in the world? No. I don't know if I love the aftertaste. I don't even really know if it tastes super like Mountain Dew. I mean, I can get the hints of it.
I get a hint of Mountain Dew, but it's genuinely like lime.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of what.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mountain Dew's heavy on the lime, of course.
Yeah.
And based off the comments, I've heard a lot of people, it's either hit or miss. Some people love it. Some people are like, this is disgusting. I would have to say it's not horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite. And I'm a harsh critic, so I would, out of 10, I give this a 5.7.
You know, I think I'm right there with you, like a 4 or 5 range. Yeah. Like, I love Kwik Trip products. I'll do a full ASMR of me eating their fried chicken. You know, all their stuff is fantastic. I got a chicken sandwich from there today when I went to go pick up my Dunkers, and I think that chicken sandwich is up there with the Chick-fil-A. This one, yeah, there's a certain type of people that are really going to love it. And man, that citrus flavor, because it's that lemon lime citrus. It's very limey, and I'm still tasting it. Yeah. Still tasting the lime. Yeah. So I think that half will be my my maximum, and hopefully my kids will like these.
Yeah. Well, thanks for enjoying that ride. If you like Mountain Dew, though, you'll love it. So
yeah, and let us know what you think. Trip. Yeah, let us know what you think. So with that, Shadow Gov, we got to get to our interview today. So I had the opportunity to speak with Katie Baney, who is running in Wisconsin's 1st Senate District. She's one of a couple of candidates that we're going to try and get on the show. We're working on getting some of the other ones together, but we want you to hear from every Republican who's running for office, especially in these primaries now, so you can help you make a good decision. I thought Kate was a really fun person to talk to. She has a background in advocating for the Second Amendment. She worked in D.C. up until COVID, but is originally from the area, and she probably has a good sale, because we're going to talk about it in the episode. She convinced her husband, who's from Texas, to move to De Pere, Wisconsin. So hope you enjoy that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. I'm Justin Phillips, and joining me today, someone who I feel like I know very well, or someone who I don't think I've actually met, Katie Baney, and she's running for the 1st Senate District in Wisconsin. Welcome.
Hey, Justin. It's great to be with you, and thanks for having me on.
So Katie is running to succeed Andre Jacques, and has positioned herself as a working mom and conservative activist focused on Wisconsin families first. She has more than 15 years experience in conservative politics and policy. The past 5 years, she's served as managing director of government affairs at Delta Defense, being the company behind the United States Concealed Carry Association. So she's a big Second Amendment rights activist, and we couldn't be more excited to have her on the show. Katie, tell us, how's the campaign going so far?
Oh, Justin, thanks so much for having me on. It has been a whirlwind. So we announced, it's not even been a month, if you can believe it. So we are just full on in the campaign, and it's been incredible. The reception has been great. A lot of folks just encouraging us. I've gotten a lot of thank you so much for running, for doing this, for considering to do it, to wanting to serve the people of my community, where I live, where I grew up, where I'm raising my family. It's just a really special honor and blessing to even run and to be considered. When Andre announced that he was retiring, I started getting a lot of calls from folks in the community, friends and business leaders, and folks saying, hey, would you consider doing this? Would you consider running for the state Senate seat? And my husband and I prayed on it, and we really had to consider it because it's a sacrifice. It requires a lot from not only me, but of course my family and my husband. And we have 2 little kids. And so it really took some praying, and ultimately we felt like God was nudging me and leading me down this path to do this. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and it's just been great. The reception has been so wonderful. I have met a ton of amazing, interesting, fun people across northeastern Wisconsin. And I just feel really fortunate to be doing this. And again, just excited for the opportunity ultimately to serve the people in my home.
It's great. Do you have any highlights from the campaign so far?
So we are, it's obviously June Dairy Month, and so breakfasts on the farm are really big up in northeastern Wisconsin. I grew up going to breakfast on the farm. I think it's something really unique that we do in Wisconsin, that we bring 5,000, 6,000 of our neighbors and friends all to have breakfast on a local farm. And so that has been an incredible. I love being able to go out and do that. I was at the Brown County breakfast on the farm just a couple weeks ago. I was at the Manitowoc breakfast on the farm this past weekend, serving folks. I checked in over 1,100 families and people in Manitowoc. So it was pretty incredible. They're a well-oiled machine. It was just an awesome event. And so that's been really, really fun. I love again, I grew up going to those. Last year, we took my daughter. Last June, I was pregnant and I had my daughter. We took her to the breakfast on the farm. So we're just reflecting a year later. Here we are. I'm a candidate. And it's just been a blast.
Wow. So you have a couple of young kids. I know mine are maybe just a little bit older than yours now, but it's wonderful. And they got to love mom.
It's the greatest. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's the greatest joy of my life to be a mom, and my kids are 1 and 2.5, and God willing, we'll have a couple more. And it's just the greatest blessing and joy of my life. We are really fortunate, Justin, because we have all 4 grandparents within a mile radius of our house.
Oh, it's tremendous.
So that's the only parenting kind of hack I have, is I recommend living right next to your parents and your in-laws and having just an incredible family and community support to help with your kids. Because that's why I'm able to do this, is their support and their help with my kiddos. And that's just an incredible blessing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So not quite old enough to know what mom is doing yet. Like they're not full, but they are going to come do parades with you and all that.
Yes, absolutely. We did a parade up in Door County a few weeks ago, and they rode in the parade. It, I think, had a blast. Of course, not wholly sure what's going on, but they love it. It's never a good time. It's never an easy time to run for office, and we weighed this out. I think the benefit for us now, and if you have kids, as any parents do, that right now we completely control our kids' schedules. And they're little, so they don't have, the soccer and the baseball and the dance and all the other things going on. And so they just get to come along with us. So they're with me door knocking across northeastern Wisconsin, right? It's a beautiful day outside. We're just going for walks. They're in the stroller. We're talking to folks and they love it. We're outside, we're having a good time. Same thing with the parade. We brought them to Brown County breakfast on the farm. So they're just along for the ride with us.
That's amazing. And what a way to introduce your family to the community, but also for them to experience northeastern Wisconsin, which has got to be beautiful this time of year.
There is nothing better than northeastern Wisconsin in the summer. We grew up, I grew up here, so we grew up going to the beach in Two Rivers. We grew up going up to Door County and camping in Peninsula State Park. So this is the best place to be for the summer.
It's fantastic. And so I want to talk a little bit about your background, which I think is just super unique. So you served as the managing director of government affairs for Delta Defense. Can you talk a little bit about what you did there, what they do, and all that?
Yeah, so my day job is with Delta Defense. Delta is the service provider for the United States Concealed Carry Association. We are one of the largest firearm training and education providers in the country. We have just shy of 900,000 responsibly armed Americans as members of the USCCA. And really, these are responsible American gun owners who are committed to firearm training and education. And as a benefit, they get self-defense liability insurance. And those are all really critical components of being a responsible gun owner right now. And so my day job there is doing all their government and regulatory affairs. And it's an incredible company. I mean, it was co-founded by Tim and Tani Schmidt from their kitchen table in West Bend, Wisconsin It has grown to, again, almost 900,000 USCCA members. We have over 600 employees nationwide. It is still a privately owned company based in West Bend. It's just an incredible American dream story, right, of capitalism and hard work. And they are hugely supportive of me, and I'm so grateful to Tim and Tani and the leadership at Delta for supporting me in running and for doing this, and just modeling ultimately what I've preached for years, which is that political participation is key in order for us to protect this incredible republic. I mean, we are in the 250th year of America, and this incredible experiment only continues to work if people are willing to stand up and be engaged in the process. And whether that's voting, whether that's engaging online, writing, whether it's running for office, it's all part of the critical political engagement we need in order to sustain and grow American democracy in our republic. And I think that's another really cool element about this, Justin, is just being able to run for office in the year that America turns 250. I mean, I'm wearing like my American flag stuff every day. I feel like we all should just be, so proud and feel so blessed and fortunate to live in the greatest country on the planet.
I couldn't agree more, and I am all in for the American 250. And I have a couple columns coming up in the Heartland Post about that. But no, that's an awesome experience that you had professionally to again set you up to be an opportunity to run for office. But before that, you worked for Ron Johnson and worked in DC or in the worked for Republicans in DC.
Yeah, so I was in DC for a number of years. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked in both the House and the Senate. I worked for a handful of different people, Ron Johnson, Paul Ryan, and a gentleman named Mike Rogers, who was chairman of Homeland Security at the time, and now he's chairman of Armed Services. And I had just an incredible experience in DC in my 20s. Again, I got to work in the Senate and the House. I met my husband in DC. And so my husband, Drew, and I were both working for Senator Johnson on the Committee for Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs when we met. And so that's probably, the best thing that came from DC was meeting my husband. And it was just, I felt so fortunate to be able to do that in my 20s because you are exposed and just learn an incredible amount and get to see really from a bird's eye view the whole federal legislative process, right? And it's an incredible for someone who's sort of always been a political junkie like me. It was an extraordinary experience, and I feel very fortunate to have had it. But of course, like anything, we were in DC, my husband and I, and COVID hit, and I think with many people, COVID really turned our lives upside down. And I'll never forget walking our dog in DC and getting stopped by police officers and being asked to put a mask on.
Outdoor.
And
you were outdoor.
Outside.
Oh, gosh.
We were walking our dogs. There was no one around. And I just remember feeling so radicalized by COVID and by the government health mandates and by living that way in DC that we just, there's no way. We thought there's no way we can continue living here. There's no way we can raise our kids here. We wanted to, start a family and have children. There was just no way it was going to happen. And so we moved to Wisconsin. About 5 years ago, we moved back to De Pere, which is where I grew up and where my parents still live. My parents still live in the house I grew up in here. And we just knew we wanted to live here and raise our family here. I think northeastern Wisconsin is one of the best places to live and to raise a family. I feel pretty good about my persuasion skills because my husband is a fifth generation Texan.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got him to move to Wisconsin, but he loves it. And shortly thereafter, his parents followed us. They sold their ranch in Texas and moved up here. And so we are all now, again, within kind of a mile radius of each other, my parents, his parents. And it's an extraordinary place to live. And I just feel very grateful to be here.
Well, that's fantastic. No, I know one of the biggest decisions, like once you get married is, my wife and I lived in Milwaukee, and it's similar in a sense that like you realize this probably isn't the place where you can raise a kid. You don't want them to go biking in the condo or anything. You gotta, get them some fresh air and some country, and it's really impressive. If you could persuade a fifth generation Texan to move to Wisconsin, you could probably persuade a lot of people on doors.
Yeah,
That's
I feel pretty good about it, Justin. I'll tell you that. And he loves, I mean, he's a loves the snow, loves
mhm.
skiing. He's a hockey guy, so he loves pond hockey. That was one of his favorite things coming to Wisconsin was
Nice.
that all the parks flood their local rinks and that he can go to the pond or go to the local rink at the park and get to skate and meet some other guys. So he's loving it. And this is how I wanted to raise my kids. I mean, it's just I think it's a unique neighborly kind community, and it's just a great place to live.
Yeah, when you mentioned Texas, I immediately thought barbecue and Terry Black's, and I hope he finds some good places for barbecue up where he can do it himself up in northeastern Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, we have a smoker. His dad brought, they have multiple smokers at my in-laws house. It's a big thing. We smoke brisket and we still get to have a little taste of Texas up here.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's shift a little bit on to some policy stuff. So you're running as a Wisconsin Families First. It seems to be your tagline. So tell us a little bit more about that and what you hope to accomplish in Madison.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm running because I felt like God called me to do this and because I think the most competent, capable person to run and represent the people of my community. And everything that I do, all the decisions I make and how I operate ultimately is guided by my faith and guided by what's best for Northeastern Wisconsin's families. And when I'm at the doors and when I'm talking with folks in Northeastern Wisconsin, people are really concerned about, I'd say the number one issue is affordability. I hear that constantly, whether we're talking about property taxes, whether we're talking about utility bills, whether we're talking about hospital bills, it's becoming really expensive to raise a family and to live here. And that's a major concern to me. And I think we should be really clear about what government can do and can solve and what it can't. So I think, for example, just take the property tax issue. I think day one, we need to repeal the 400-year property tax increase immediately. I know our property taxes, I think they went up, I think it's 28% year over year. Um, it's crazy and it's becoming unaffordable for people to live here, and that's unacceptable, right? I think there's some areas that we can look at in terms of the PSC Commission and utility rates, and I think we need to look at what opportunities exist on hospital pricing and billing transparency, because I've heard a lot about medical bills and families, parents just being really concerned. I had an ER visit with my 1 year old, and our bill is over $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's extremely difficult for people to deal with. And so ultimately, I'm running because I want this place, I want Northeastern Wisconsin to be one of the best places to live and to raise a family. And every decision I make is going to come from the vein of what's best for the people I represent, what's best for Wisconsin families. And I think if you're operating from that position, we're going to be able to accomplish a lot in Madison.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think many years ago we were reliably told that the Affordable Care Act is going to make healthcare more affordable, and it's done virtually the exact opposite. And I can empathize that. Yeah, you take your kid to the emergency room for some stitches or something like that, and all of a sudden you're staring these big bills down, and there isn't the price transparency and those sort of things. So I think that's a great campaign platform to run on.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm concerned about a lot of things, though, too, right? I hear concerns about medical freedom, access to quality food. I hear major concerns about our education system. We are spending record money, yet the accountability isn't there, the outcomes aren't there. It's not like all of a sudden our children are critically thinking and reading and writing at higher levels. That's not happening. And so we need a level of oversight and accountability. I would love to see a full audit of DPI. I'd like to understand where all of our taxpayer dollars are going. And that's not a radical idea. I mean, that should be a routine part of the legislative process of what's happening in Madison. And it's not right now. And so there are a lot of issues and concerns that I want to talk about and demonstrate leadership on and ultimately go to Madison to try to solve.
I love it. I love it. So, Katie, can you talk a little bit more about how being a mom is going to influence your decision making in Madison, the policies you want to pursue, and the legislation you want to author?
Yeah, Justin, I think I'm the only mom in the race. And I think it's a really critical perspective to bring to Madison. And one of the major legislative issues I want to see, I want to sponsor and pass a Parents' Bill of Rights. I want to have a conversation and just regain that sovereignty of parents' decision making and authority over their children, especially as it relates to school. And when we consider what age appropriate content is, and when we consider, the medical and health decisions that are being made in school, I want to see a Parents' Bill of Rights in Wisconsin just to reassert that control and make very clear that government is not raising our children. Parents are. I refuse to co-parent with the government. I refuse to co-parent with Madison bureaucrats. And I think we need to put that power back into the hands of parents in Wisconsin.
No, love that. As a dad, I have three girls that are, going to be kindergarten, second, and fourth grade, and can definitely relate to wanting to make sure that I am the one, or my wife and I are the ones making the best decisions for them, and it's not the government intervention.
Yep, exactly. How old are your kids?
So I have one she's going to be 9, turns 9 in a couple of weeks, and then a 7-year-old and a 4.5-year-old. So we are in the throes of the dance lessons and piano lessons and swim lessons and t-ball and sports, and we're getting into it, and it's been a joy to kind of watch them grow up.
Yeah, that's great.
So, Katie, we do ask 3 questions of all of the candidates that come onto this show. So the first one is, if you could pick an iconic Wisconsin spot, whether supper club, brewery, or Packers tailgate to hold a rally at, what would it be? What would it look like? What do you want to talk to voters about? What do you want to serve?
Okay, so Friday night fish fry, no doubt. This is one of my husband's favorite things about Wisconsin is just the supper club culture and Friday night fish fry. And so we have a running list of, it's, one of our favorite hobbies to go and try all the various supper clubs in the area, figure out the best Friday night fish fry. So I would love to host a Friday night fish fry, of course, with brandy old fashioned sweet, although sometimes I like pressed if I need a little bit of, a little bit less sugar.
Sure.
And I think that's just the most authentic, genuine Wisconsin tradition is a fish fry with a brandy old fashioned. And I think we would talk about all the issues going on in the campaign, affordability, education. I love to talk about the Second Amendment, of course, and I hear about that at doors and just the fundamental right to self-defense. But I'd want to talk about all the issues, and I want to hear what's on people's minds. What are they concerned about? What keeps them up at night? And the best way to do that, of course, is over an old fashioned.
Heck yeah. Sweet, you said, or press. Those are the good ways to.
I like it sweet.
Yeah, those are the best
my
ways.
2 favorite. Yep.
With cherries and an orange.
Absolutely. My dad is weird and does Brussels sprouts.
Really?
I can't do the Brussels sprouts. Mm-hmm.
I lose
olive and Brussels sprouts.
I lose my cherries to the girls, so I don't get too many. And the one time it came with olives, and they were very disappointed that they didn't get to have those.
Yeah.
So growing up, you grew up in Wisconsin. So what's one lesson you've learned from the state, whether it's a hunting trip or a festival or something that really kind of shaped your conservative approach to leadership in life?
I would say we just take care of each other. Wisconsinites take care of each other. One of my favorite things growing up was after a major snowstorm, you would come out in the morning and you would see everyone out with their snow blowers, with their shovels. And it's almost like a community event where everyone's shoveling out their sidewalks and their driveways, checking on each other, checking on elderly neighbors, doing their sidewalk. I think people are, Wisconsinites are just neighborly. We really care about each other. And that is, whether it's in the winter, shoveling out after a snowstorm or, all the church picnics that we have, people here are kind, they're neighborly. I think, and they show up for each other. They're just genuine, good human beings, which I think was one of the major reasons my parents decided to move here. I mean, my dad retired out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And the military, when you retire, will relocate you to anywhere in the country. And my parents chose Green Bay, Wisconsin. And my dad was from the UP, so of course he was familiar with Green Bay. He had a really great best friend from the Navy who lived here. And they came here and they visited, and I think they just were struck by how kind everyone was and just authentic, genuine, warm, neighborly people. And they knew they wanted to raise their kids here.
That's awesome. That's a great story, and how you came to Wisconsin. So final question, you get to wave a magic wand on day one, and whether it's a policy you want to implement or roll back, I guess you could say, what's the day one legislation you want to enact in the state?
I only get to pick one?
You can make it a very big one, but yes, one.
Okay, so I mean, I have to go with the 400-year property tax increase. I think that's just an abomination on the state and on the taxpayers of the state. I think it's making it unaffordable for people to buy homes, stay in their homes, and I think it has to be priority day one.
Awesome. I agree. And now, Katie, we do have one final question. Where can folks go to learn more about you? Website, socials? Give us all of it.
Yeah, please check us out, katieforwisconsin.com. You can find us on Facebook as well, Katie Baney. Please, check us out, like my Facebook, reach out to us if you have any questions, concerns, comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Katie Baney, it has been a pleasure. Wishing you best on the campaign trail. Thanks for taking some time today, and look forward to seeing what's next.
Thanks so much for having me, Justin. Take care.
So with that, Shadow Gov, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Kwik Trip Mountain Dew Dunker. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. We are just loving seeing all of the new and continuing listeners. If you like what you hear, make sure to leave us that 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We'll read all your comments on the pod. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post. And of course, if you want to learn anything about us or have any questions, hit us up at email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Find us on Rumble, YouTube, Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, on X. Sorry, 3, 2, 1. Of course, if you like... Sorry, man, I'm so close to this. 3, 2, 1. If you want to learn more about us or have any questions, hit us up at Gmail at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Find us on Rumble, YouTube, Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, on X at New Fashion Pod. Have a great Monday.